Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Divya Purusha Jaya Prabhupada Atmavana Jaya Prabhupada Bhakta Shrestha Jaya Prabhupada Mahanubhava Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Guru Nudi Palaka Jaya Prabhupada Guru Mana Santasa Jaya Prabhupada Acharya Shrestha Jaya Prabhupada Karuna Sindhu Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada.
This is the easiest process, that you come here and hear about Krishna. That's it. You haven't got to do anything. Simply come here. We are opening all the center just to invite you. Please come here and hear about Krishna.
Deenabandhu Jaya Prabhupada Krishna Dasa Jaya Prabhupada Veera Jagat Guru Jaya Prabhupada Chaitanya Dutta Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada
Shanta Murti Jaya Prabhupada Talmeya Shikhara Jaya Prabhupada Siddha Avadhuta Jaya Prabhupada Paradukka Dukhi Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada.
So there is easy processes. It doesn't matter according to your qualification. You engage yourself in any one, but try to satisfy Krishna. Then your life is successful.
Paschima Surya Jaya Prabhupada Gita Pracharaka Jaya Prabhupada Madhukula Rakshaka Jaya Prabhupada Adhama Janara Bandhu Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada
Atma Jnani Jaya Prabhupada Kirtana Dayaka Jaya Prabhupada Parama Pujita Jaya Prabhupada Sada Shubha Chintaka Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada.
Okay, Prabhu. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. A very warm welcome to all of you on day 5 of Srila Prabhupada Lila, Struggling Alone. We saw Srila Prabhupada finally, things got arranged by Krishna. Srila Prabhupada was able to arrange a sponsorship, a couple of months of sponsorship in America. And Sumati Murarji, who was one of the main sponsors of producing Srimad Bhagavatam, she supplies a free ticket on one of her ships, Jalduta. Srila Prabhupada starts from Calcutta, but very soon he suffers 2 major heart attacks. And Prabhupada told, had it been a 3rd attack, he could never have survived. But there happens a magic. They are supposed to face now Atlantic Ocean, and that ocean has always been very, very rough. But the captain of the ship, Captain Pandya, he tells this is something extraordinary. In all my sailing history, we have never experienced such a smooth Atlantic Ocean. So Prabhupada tells it is all Krishna's mercy. Otherwise, I could not have survived. Srila Prabhupada finally he reaches Boston. And Prabhupada is taken to see the streets and other places of America. And there Srila Prabhupada pens down this very important prayer, which is called Markine Bhagavad Dharma. So these are very beautiful prayers. All of you can try to read that. And we will try to understand now the English translation of it. But the most significant thing about his short stay in Boston, aside from the fact that he had now set foot in America, was that at Commonwealth Pier he wrote a Bengali poem entitled Markine Bhagavad Dharma. Some of the verses he wrote on board the ship that day are as follows. My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. But I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place? Most of the population here is covered by material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied. And therefore, they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudev Krishna. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. So this we can see is a stark contrast to the general thinking. Generally, people are very much enthusiastic about visiting United States of America, and they think if somehow we can go there and make a permanent settlement, that is success of our life. And Srila Prabhupada had gone to America at a time where very, very less people were going. And Prabhupada is not telling that it is a very nice place. Prabhupada is telling Krishna, why you have sent me to this terrible place. So this is the difference between an understanding of a pure devotee, a person on spiritual platform, and that of a materialist. As it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Ya nisha sarva bhutani tasyam jagrati sanyami. Ya nisha, nisha means night. Ya nisha sarva bhutani, bhutani means living entities. What is night for all the conditioned soul living entities who think we are this temporary body? Tasyam jagrati sanyami, that is time of awakening, that is daytime for an introspective sage, a pure devotee. And yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato mune. What is daytime for a materialist is dense, deep darkness for a pure devotee. So thus what is daytime, which is something very fantastic and most extraordinary place to live, United States, the most developed nation, that is a terrible place. Similarly, when Srila Prabhupada was there in London, so Srila Prabhupada had an interview, and Srila Prabhupada was giving the description of heaven and hell. So usually people are becoming atheist, and even at that time they were very skeptical. So they were asking that you tell hell is there, and can you please describe what is hell like? So Prabhupada was there in London. He tells, so it is like this. This is hell where you are living. It is always, there is no sun. It is dark. Anytime it rains, it's cold. So this is hell. But definitely you have credit, because in this hellish situation also, you have made it a place for comfortable living. So the cities which are very, very advanced, Srila Prabhupada was calling it as a terrible place. Why he is calling it terrible place? That Srila Prabhupada beautifully mentions in the next two lines. Because Rajas Tamas Bhava Sabaya Channa. Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied. So this is what happens in the mode of ignorance and passion. There are three energies which are active here in this world: Sattva Guna, Rajaguna and Tamaguna. So those who are there conducted by Sattva Guna, they are able to have a clear perception of this world. But those who are conducted by the lower modes, the situation is very terrible. Just like a madman does not realize that he is mad, although he is suffering, and he is thinking he is somebody who he is not. So this madness is created by modes of passion and ignorance. A person is suffering, but he cannot realize that he is suffering. Only when he gets cured, he realizes, oh, this thing is very nice. This is what we also experience when we come into Krishna consciousness. We start following the regulative principles, start doing chanting very nicely, and then we realize, oh, my life is so nice now. And I was suffering so much before. Why could I not realize that I was suffering? So it is so intense, this influence of the lower modes. The person keeps on suffering just like the animals. You beat a donkey with a stick. So donkey may bray, it may cry loudly, but it does not have sense. If I move little bit, then the person will not hit me. It does not understand why the person is hitting me. And similar is the case with animals. They keep on suffering, but their brain does not work how to solve the problems of life. My forefathers were suffering because of wandering on the street, hungry, and I am also suffering in a similar fashion. And the future generation of dogs also will have the same fate, but they cannot solve the problems of life. But human form of life is a loophole. Here we can make a solution to all the problems. We should not just accept, oh, death is happening, let me suffer from death. Diseases are happening, it is normal. Everybody is suffering from disease, I am also suffering. Animal things like that. Human being means reasoning should be there. How to stop death, how to stop disease. But in lower modes it is not possible. And how these lower modes are manifest, where do we see? Do we have to do some surgery to see some energy or some cells floating inside, Rajoguna and Tamoguna? No, Rajoguna and Tamoguna are manifest as lust and greed in the body. So we have to see, do I have lust? Lust means not just gross sexual desire, but any tendency of independent, selfish enjoyment in which Krishna's pleasure is not involved. So this is not a gentleman's living. A person who is just interested in his own pleasure or her own pleasure, this is not a gentleman's way of life or attitude. So that is why the spiritual life is meant for people who take pleasure not in their satisfaction, but in satisfaction of Krishna. And Krishna means it's not that there's one Krishna and we forget everybody who is connected to me materially or disconnected to me. No, Krishna means we are all part and parcels of Krishna. So all the great acharyas, Prabhupada, they are having great compassion for the suffering living entities, and their happiness lies in taking all the troubles so that others can benefit. This is called love. Love means when you just live for others' benefit. So spiritual life, spiritual revelation, realization is meant when a person reduces lust. He takes happiness only in satisfaction of Krishna, making other living entities advanced in their Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, if lower modes are there, Rajoguna and Tamoguna, lust and greed is very strong in the heart, it is not possible to understand even how materially I am suffering, what to speak of spiritual reality. So that is why all the rules and regulations in Krishna consciousness, first of all, they reduce this lust and greed in the heart. Any tendency of independent enjoyment or any kind of accumulation tendency of extra accumulation. Greed means I can live very nicely, but I want to accumulate more and more. I want to have more and more luxuries. No, simple living and high thinking. And living should be so simple, it is told in the Vedic literatures that a person should sleep under a tree. That practice should be done. He should be able to live in the forest, in the mountains. That much training should be given. And even a person should not become dependent upon that tree, should simply remain dependent upon Krishna. Next night, you should not sleep under that tree, which you had previously slept. You keep on changing the trees also. So entire training in the Vedic culture is to make a person more and more dependent upon Krishna. And today's training makes a person independent. Save time from Krishna consciousness, accumulate some money, some people around you, but then all these things do not make people happy. As long as there is Rajoguna and Tamoguna in the heart, it is difficult to understand. So we should try very nicely to chant offenselessly, to follow the regulative principles, have devotee association, read scriptures, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and remove as soon as possible greed and lust from the heart. So when lust and greed are there in the heart, there is no taste for spiritual life, just like a sick man has no taste in food. So they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. But I know that your causeless mercy can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic. How will they understand the mellows of devotional service? O Lord, I am simply praying for your mercy so that I will be able to convince them about your message. All living entities have come under the control of illusory energy by your will, and therefore, if you like, by your will, they can also be released from the clutches of illusion. I wish that you may deliver them. Therefore, if you so desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I am very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. Therefore, I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own. Somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or failure as you like. O spiritual master of all the worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. Only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. I am sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel gladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, O Lord, make me dance as you like. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhakti Vedanta, and now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhakti Vedanta. Signed, the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jalduta, Commonwealth Pier, Boston, Massachusetts, USA, dated 18 September 1965. So one may wonder, what is the attitude of a person who is going to establish this worldwide Krishna consciousness movement? And as we hear from the motivational speakers, even the person who is abject failure, they motivate, no, you can win. And simply you should be very confident that I can crack any exam of the world, I can establish any business, I can attain any success, everything is possible. And you should always start with confidence. Stay away from people who tell you cannot succeed. Do not have low self-esteem. Always believe in yourself. But here, we see a person who has been successful, not just spiritually, but even materially. You will not find a person who has started his business with 40 rupees and he has reached more than 40 crores in a span of few years. But Prabhupada did that. So what is Prabhupada's attitude? Is he very confident? Nobody can stop me. I will establish so many centers. No, Prabhupada is telling, have no qualification. Why you have brought me to this terrible place? I have no knowledge. I have no devotion. So if you don't have knowledge and devotion, why you have come here? So I have come on the order of my spiritual master. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate grim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam. So spiritual master's order is most powerful because spiritual master is a personality who is empowered by Krishna. And mukam karoti vachalam, if spiritual master is merciful, then a person who is very dumb, he becomes an eloquent speaker. And pangum langhayate girim, a lame man cannot be expected to cross a mountain, but we can do so if blessed by a spiritual master. Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam. So I offer my respects unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master. So thus entire spiritual life's advancement depends upon pleasing the spiritual master. And Krishna gives the power of attorney to the spiritual master. The person you like, you can offer him the perfection of my understanding, Krishna consciousness. So because spiritual master Srila Prabhupada had ordered, Prabhupada had confidence. Because he has ordered, so I have to go there. And he had confidence in the words of Krishna. If Krishna is repeating some words, if I simply present it without any change, then it will be effective. And similar thing is quoted by Srila Rupa Goswami also. He composed a very wonderful drama and everybody was praising Rupa Goswami. So he told, just see the potency of Krishna's words. Even though I am unqualified, I have no knowledge, no power, no capacity, but there is so much potency in these words that they are bringing all the change. So thus, this is the qualification if a person wants to become empowered in spiritual life. When he has complete conviction that I have no qualification and I am the most unqualified person in the world. Thus Prabhupada signs, the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. So this person has no self-esteem for himself, but he has very high esteem, unlimited faith. Prabhupada writes, I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. So I have no qualification, but holy name is so powerful. If I simply chant this holy name under the direction of my spiritual master, that will bring all the change. So this is the entire purpose of human life, to become dependent upon Krishna. The more we become dependent upon Krishna, the more Krishna takes care. And if Krishna wants to take care, then who can harm us? And we have to understand, we were there in the womb of the mother, packed up for 9 months. We could not have asked that Krishna, please give me, or my mother, please give me anything. The child is unconscious. And in 7th month, the consciousness comes. Even though consciousness has come, child cannot do anything but struggle and feel the pangs of being packed in the womb. So in the conscious or unconscious state in the womb, child cannot demand, give me this much food. But the right amount of food is being supplied every day. Is it not magic? Isn't it magical? Different people have different requirements. Here, if we eat more, we'll fall sick. If we eat less, we'll get tuberculosis. And the right amount of food is being sent to the child regularly. Right amount of fluids, right amount of oxygen, everything is being taken care of very nicely in the womb. And when we come out of the womb, then we take so much of anxiety for our maintenance. So Chanakya Pandit says, when I see that as soon as the child takes birth, milk is flowing in the breasts of the mother, my heart becomes engladdened for Krishna. That how nice is his arrangement. So just see how nicely child cannot survive on anything. Child is completely dependent upon the milk of the mother, and the milk appears as soon as there is birth of the child and stops when the child grows up. And in the womb, complete dependence is there, but he is being taken care of. So what is the need of taking anxiety? All these animals, they don't undergo any education, but still they are being maintained. They have their family, eating, mating, sleeping, defending, shelter, how to have, all this knowledge is being given to them. So human life should not be wasted for this thing. Simply a civilization of greed, which are creating competition, making each other's life tough every day. So why human being has got little independence? Animals do not have independence. They cannot improve their standard of living. But when a person comes to human form of life, then little freedom is given to the human beings. Why? So that we can become even more consciously dependent upon Krishna. That I was there in the womb and I was so nicely taken care. Now consciously if I depend upon somebody, then that is called a loving relationship. Why mother produces children? So that they can love her back. So this is why we increase the family. Similarly, this tendency is present in the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, this tendency cannot be present in us, who are part and parcels of God. So God wants that my part and parcels should love me, should depend upon me. So in human form of life, we have got independence. But this independence, we should use to become more and more dependent upon Krishna. How can we become dependent? It is very simple. Krishna has given instructions through the Vedas, especially very, very directly in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. So we should try to read it and try to become completely dependent. Sometimes we may face very danger, many dangers in our life. Sometimes we may think, oh, I am following these rules and regulations and suffering has come because of that, just like Prabhupada. He set out for preaching and then he suffers heart attacks immediately. What is this? His typewriter he's using not for sense gratification for writing Bhagavad Gita, but it is stolen. And manuscript is also stolen. So many difficulties can come, but a person should understand the same God who maintained me, I am following his instructions. So if any harm is happening, this harm is also for my good. So we are different from this body and mind. We are spirit souls. Harm for the body at times is good for the spirit soul. Just like a surgeon, it cuts open the body. Harm is done to the body so that the person can survive. So this is the mood of Krishna also. He takes us through some purification, but the living entity should remain dependent. And when you become dependent on Krishna, then Krishna takes charge of your life. And if God has taken charge of your life, then where is the difficulty? This is the message which Prabhupada wanted to give to everybody. And this is the consciousness of a devotee. On the 19th of September, the Jalduta sailed into New York Harbor and docked at Brooklyn Pier at 17th Street. Bhaktivedanta Swami saw the awesome Manhattan skyline, the Empire State Building, and like millions of visitors and immigrants in the past, the Statue of Liberty. Bhaktivedanta Swami was dressed appropriately for a resident of Vrindavan. He wore kanthi mala and a simple cotton cloth, and he carried jap mala and an old chadar or shawl. His complexion was golden, his head shaven except for the shikha in the back, his forehead decorated with the whitish Vaishnava tilak. He wore pointed white rubber slippers, not uncommon for sadhus in India. But who in New York had ever seen or dreamed of anyone appearing like this Vaishnava? He was possibly the first Vaishnava sannyasi to arrive in New York with uncompromised appearance. Carrying only 40 rupees cash, which he himself called a few hours spending in New York. You cannot live in New York even for more than a couple of hours with 40 rupees. An additional $20 he had collected from selling 3 volumes of Bhagavatam to Captain Pandya. So he has got 40 rupees and that rupee cannot be spent there, you need dollars. So what was Prabhupada's plan? Prabhupada's plan was very simple. He had faith in the books. Prabhupada carried books and first set of books he sold to the captain of the ship himself and he gave him $20. Bhaktivedanta Swami with umbrella and suitcase in hand and still escorted by the traveler's aid representative set out for the Port Authority bus terminal to arrange for his trip to Butler. Bhaktivedanta Swami arrived at the Agarwal's home in Butler, Pennsylvania at 4 a.m. and Gopal invited him to sleep on the couch. Their place, a townhouse apartment, consisted of a small living room, a dining room, a kitchenette, 2 upstairs bedrooms and a bath. Here they lived with their 2 young children. Gopal Agarwal and his American wife Sally had lived in Butler for a few years now and felt themselves established in good social circle. Since their apartment had so little space, they decided that it would be better if the Swami took a room at the YMCA and came to visit them during the day. Sally recollects, He had a typewriter, which was one of his few possessions, and an umbrella. That was one of the things that caused a sensation, that he was always carrying an umbrella. And it was a little chilly and he was balding. So he always wore this hat that someone had made for him like a swimming cap. It was a kind of sensation, and he was so brilliant that when he saw someone twice, he knew who they were. He remembered he was a brilliant man. Or if he met them in our apartment and saw them in a car, he would remember their name and he would wave and say their name. He was a brilliant man. All the people liked him. They were amazed at how intelligent he was. The thing that got them was the way he remembered their name and his humorous way. He looked so serious all the time, but he was a very humorous person. He was forbidding in his looks, but he was very charming. He was the easiest guest that I have had in my life. So usually guests, it is difficult, because you have to spend time with them. And already you have your chores and your business, regular affairs, office work, and then you have to spend time with them. So it becomes sometimes a little difficult to manage. But Sally tells, he was the easiest guest I have had in my life, because when I couldn't spend time with him, he chanted, and I knew he was perfectly happy. When I couldn't talk to him, he chanted. He was so easy though, because I knew he was never bored. I never felt any pressure or tension about having him. He was so easy that when I had to take care of the children, he would just chant. So this was Sally's impression. Whenever she is not with Swami would just chant. He was very, very peaceful and happy chanting. He was a very good guest. When people would come, they were always smoking cigarettes. But he would say, pay no attention, think nothing of it. That's what he said, think nothing of it. Because he knew we were different. I didn't smoke in front of him. I knew I wasn't supposed to smoke in front of Gopal's father. So Gopal had educated at least this much to his American wife, that you are not supposed to smoke when my family comes. So I sort of considered him the same. He didn't make any problems for anybody. On September 22nd, a feature article appeared in the Butler Eagle. A slight brown man in faded orange drapes and wearing white bathing shoes stepped out of a compact car yesterday and into the Butler YMCA to attend a meeting. He is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swamiji, a messenger from India to the people of the West. The article referred to Srimad Bhagavatam as biblical literature and to Bhaktivedanta Swami as the learned teacher. It continued, quotes, my mission is to revive people's God consciousness, says the Swamiji. God is the father of all living beings in thousands of different forms. He explains, human life is a stage of perfection in evolution. If we miss the message, back we go through the process again, he believes. Bhaktivedanta lives as a monk and permits no woman to touch his foot. On a 6-week ocean voyage and at the Agrawal apartment in Butler, he prepares his meals in a brass pan with separate levels for steaming rice, vegetables, and making bread at the same time. He is a strict vegetarian and is permitted to drink only milk, which is miracle food for babies and old men, he says. If Americans would give more attention to their spiritual life, they would be much happier. So this was very simple message of Prabhupada, not complicated. Prabhupada told realization means you should be able to explain in a very simple way that people may understand. So Prabhupada told Krishna consciousness is the greatest welfare activity that you can do. We are all willing to do some good activity for our children, for our parents, for our siblings, for society, for our pets, and for anybody. But the greatest welfare Prabhupada defines very beautifully with the help of a very simple example. This is the meaning of realization. Prabhupada tells, if a man is loitering on the street and you may show some courtesy that this poor person is hungry, let me give him some money. That is good activity. That is called welfare work. And better work is if you can teach that person, educate that person so that he can make money on his own and make his living. That is better welfare work. But what is the best welfare work? Best welfare work is to make him realize that you have got a very rich father. So why you have left your father? He is there, he is very rich, he is qualified, he is sufficient, he is capable to give you all luxuries and give you whatever you want in life. So simply if that man who has broken his relationship with his father, he is guided back to his father, that is the greatest welfare activity, because all his problems are solved once and for good. So this is the message of Krishna consciousness. It is very, very simple. This universe has not popped out of nothing by chance. Computers cannot assemble by chance. So this body which hosts computer called brain, and the computer is invested in every cell, which is powerful than the computers that we use today. This cannot assemble definitely by chance. So behind all this machineries that we see around us in so many shapes and forms and qualities, there is a creator. Why there cannot be creator? So there is a creator and he is our father. And all the energies are under his control. And that father tells us how to become happy. Even if you want to live away from him in this material world, he has told. Just like sometimes you want to go on a beach, you want to enjoy the ocean. So there are instructions, do not cross this limit. There are sharks in this area, do not go. There you can get drowned. It is high tide, do not enter at this time. So if you follow those, enjoy surfing on the ocean and you can come back safely. But if you do not pay heed to these instructions, you will get drowned and killed in the ocean. Similarly, God is so kind. It is not that he is envious. You have gone to material world away from me, then I'll make your life hellish. No, he has given instructions in the form of Vedas. If you follow Vedas nicely, here we'll be happy and very safely we'll go back to our father. Can you please tell him? So we can go back to our father very simply if we follow the instructions. But if we don't pay heed to instructions of the Vedas, then life becomes very miserable. Person is lost in this ocean, taking many, many births, suffering from many, many deaths. So this simple message Prabhupada had for the Americans. I have come here to revive God consciousness of the people. Make the man who is loitering on the street conscious of his father. So it is very, very simple. Actually, there is no need of working very, very hard and struggling entire life. First, you have a crisis in the education system. There are tests every week and then annual examination. And then finally you have a job and you have dreams. All those dreams you see shattering. I am not satisfied. And then you have what people call today midlife crisis. And in the best of the companies which people dream of entering, they have seminars on how to deal with midlife crisis. And then old age is unlimited crisis. People, nobody cares for them. Those children, they are not caring for them. Son and daughter are not worried. All the respect which you are getting, you do not get once you retire. And whole body is having various diseases. That is horrible. So now we have made our life complete crisis. There is no need for such things. God lives in a place. We have to go and live with God. It is very simple. This is the sum and substance of all the Vedic literatures. So Prabhupada told, my mission is to revive people's God consciousness. Sally recollects, when he cooked, he used only one burner. The bottom level pot created the steam. He had the dal on the bottom and it created the steam to cook many other vegetables. So for about a week, he was cooking this great big lunch, which was ready about 11:30, and Gopal always came home for lunch about 12. So Prabhupada would not eat anything. Even when he was in America, there was not a single day when he did not offer anything to Krishna. So Prabhupada cannot eat bhoga. So Prabhupada was cooking and he extended his cooking and he cooked for the Agarwal family as well. And they were very delighted to have such amazing cooking by Srila Prabhupada. Our fun was to show him what we knew of America. And he had never seen such things. It was such a fun to take him to the supermarket. He loved opening the package of okra or frozen beans. And he didn't have to clean them and cut them and do all those things. He opened the freezer every day and just chose his items. It was fun to watch him. He sat on the couch while I swept with vacuum cleaner. And he was so interested in that. And we talked for a long time about that. He was so interesting. So every day he would have this big feast. And everything was great fun. We really enjoyed it. I would help him cut the things, he would spice it, and we would laugh. He was the most enjoyable man, most enjoyable man. I really felt like a sort of daughter to him, even in such a short time, like he was my father-in-law. But I really felt very close to him. He enjoyed everything. I liked him. I thought he was tremendous. So Srila Prabhupada was hosted very nicely by the Agarwal family. And Sally was calling other friends, and she was in society of intellectuals, and those people were coming, and Prabhupada would speak to them. And in this way, a month passed by. Prabhupada appreciated that Americans are willing to understand this philosophy. If I preach like this, some religious groups, definitely they would oppose that this foreign element is coming to our country, but people in particular, they are interested. But Butler was not the goal of so much trouble Prabhupada took on his sea journey. Prabhupada wanted to come to America not to remain satisfied in cozy Butler apartment, which was but a middle class area. Prabhupada had come to America, he wanted to make entire America Krishna consciousness, and that can happen when Prabhupada reaches the heart of America, the most important city of the world. So Prabhupada was always planning. So Prabhupada was writing what he's supposed to accomplish. And Prabhupada wrote, I have to go to London. And then he struck off London with some inspiration, and he wrote New York, which was the most powerful and important city at that time, and even now it is. So Prabhupada understood the principle of preaching. You have to preach to the leading men, you have to preach to the leading country, you have to preach to the leading city. If that city picks up, entire America would pick up, and if America picks up, whole world will follow America, and the whole world will become Vaikuntha Krishna conscious. So Prabhupada had 2 months of visa, and in the second month, Prabhupada, even though he was not having any contact, he wanted to go desperately to New York. And Sally was very much worried. Sally tells, after a month, I really loved Swami. I felt protective in a way, and he wanted to go to Philadelphia, but I couldn't imagine. I told him I could not imagine him going to Philadelphia for 2 days. He was going to speak there and then to New York. He had some appointment with some Sanskrit professor in Philadelphia, and then after 2 days of stay in Philadelphia, he would move to New York. I just could not imagine. It made me sick. I remember the night he was leaving, about 2 in the morning. I remember sitting there as long as he could wait before Gopal took him to Pittsburgh to get on that bus. Gopal got a handful of change, and I remember telling him how to put the money in the slot so that he could take a bath in the bus station. Prabhupada was not knowing anything. So in the bus station, you have to put coins and then you can take bath. Such was the arrangement at that time in Philadelphia and America. Because he was supposed to take a bath a few times a day. And Gopal told him how to do that and told him about the automats in New York. Automats were vending machines. You put some coins and you can get food. There won't be any persons serving you food over there in the restaurants. He told him what he could eat and what he could not eat, and he gave him these coins in a sock, and that's all he left us with. Bhaktivedanta Swami knew no one in New York City, but he had a contact, Dr. Ramurthy Mishra. He had written Dr. Mishra from Butler, enclosing a letter of introduction that a friend had given him in Bombay. He had also phoned Dr. Mishra, who welcomed Bhaktivedanta Swami to join him in New York. So Dr. Mishra was in his mid-40s of the age of Prabhupada's son, and he was also a yoga teacher. And because of this contact reference, he invited Bhaktivedanta Swami to live with him. And Srila Prabhupada stayed with Dr. Mishra, who was in poor health at that time, and he had become very, very frail. And he thought, I will not live for a long time. But Prabhupada's cooking was so tasty that he was rejuvenated and brought back to life, and he regained his health. So Prabhupada lived with him. He was enjoying his cooking. And then when it became a little uncomfortable for him, Dr. Mishra shifted Srila Prabhupada to his yoga studio. He was teaching yoga to people. And in the yoga studio, there was a place for doing yoga, a big hall, and then a private room without any windows, but a small room was there. So then Prabhupada was moved to the yoga studio, and Prabhupada wanted an opportunity to speak. And Dr. Mishra allowed him that yes, you can speak to some of the students who are coming here. But there was a difficulty, and the difficulty was Dr. Mishra was an impersonalist. What is the meaning of impersonalist? Philosophically, at complete odds with Bhaktivedanta Swami, Dr. Mishra accepted the absolute truth in the impersonal feature or Brahm to be the supreme. A person who thinks there is an energy and that energy is taking a form, and various forms, whatever we see around us, that same one energy has taken these various forms. Just like the pot is there, you have space within the pot and space outside the pot. And once the pot is broken, that space becomes one. There is no one space and second space. Space is one. In a similar fashion, the consciousness is one. It is only energy, consciousness, which appears to be present as various individuals because of these pots, these bodies that we have. Once the body is destroyed, consciousness becomes one. So this is the understanding that you are God, I am God, everybody is God. And ultimately, these forms are coming from one formless energy. This is called impersonalism. Okay. So I got the information that audio has not been clear so far. So we beg pardon, some difficulty we are facing. So we may extend lecture for 10 more minutes so that you can hear and try to absorb this subject matter nicely. So this is called impersonalist philosophy. And personalist philosophy means, yes, definitely that impersonal energy is there. And whatever we see around us, it is transformation of that energy. But ultimately, energy has a source, energetic, and that energetic source is a personality. This is called personalism. So the actual fact is personalism, what Srila Prabhupada was preaching, but Dr. Mishra was impersonalist. Bhaktivedanta Swami stressed the supremacy of the personal feature following the Vedic theistic philosophy, that the most complete understanding of absolute truth is personal. The Bhagavad Gita says that impersonal Brahm is subordinate to Bhagwan and is emanation from him just as the sunshine is emanation from the sun planet. This conclusion had been taught by the leading traditional acharyas of ancient India such as Ramanuja and Madhva. Dr. Mishra on the other hand followed Shankara, who taught the impersonal presence of the absolute truth, that the personality of Godhead is ultimately an illusion. Whereas Bhaktivedanta Swami's theistic philosophy accepted the individual's spiritual self as an eternal servant of the supreme spiritual being Bhagwan. Dr. Mishra's view accepted the spiritual self as not an individual. Rather, his idea was that since each person is identical with God, the supreme Brahm, there is no need to worship God outside oneself. As Dr. Mishra would put it, everything is one. Bhaktivedanta Swami challenged, if each of us is actually the supreme, then why is the supreme suffering and struggling in the material world? This is common sense. If we are supreme, why there is suffering? Why a person lands up in depression? Why there are so many diseases? Why there is death? Supreme would not like to suffer. Dr. Mishra would counter that the Supreme is only temporarily covered by illusion and that through Hatha Yoga and meditation, one would become enlightened in understanding and he would realize it is all the Supreme. Bhaktivedanta Swami would again challenge, but if the Supreme could be covered by illusion, then illusion would be greater than God, greater than the Supreme, then you cannot call it Supreme. Bhaktivedanta Swami considered Dr. Mishra a Mayavadi, because of his inadvertent acceptance that Maya illusion is greater than the absolute truth. For Bhaktivedanta Swami, not only was the impersonal philosophy unpalatable, it was an insult to the personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada was not at all comfortable. Prabhupada had been there, he's taking so many struggles, so that he can directly and very boldly present Krishna consciousness to people. It is very simple. Why you are complicating your life, struggling very hard, creating artificial necessities of your life? Your necessity of life is that you have forgotten the person you love the most and he loves you the most. And it is that satisfaction of love that you want in life. All the opulence, all the demands that you have are completely satisfied, but the simple cause is forgetfulness. A person who is dreaming, he might be very rich, having loving people around him, but in dream he may suffer because he's sleeping. So because of illusion you are suffering. Your father is there waiting for you to wake up into reality, and then immediately all the problems are solved. So Prabhupada wanted to present this thing very directly and very simple philosophy, but Dr. Mishra restricted. He did not want his students to be exposed to this personal philosophy which were against his views. So Prabhupada then eventually left that building, yoga studio, and in the same building from 5th floor, he moved to 3rd floor. And this place was very small, a narrow room, and Prabhupada had just a cot to sleep and a trunk with him. And this room had a door with transom over it, a window pane, glass pane. And Prabhupada was typing there, but he was very, very glad. At least he had an independent place. Now there is no restriction, he can speak whatever he wants. And then Prabhupada, although earlier students were coming to him sporadically, but once in a while hearing will not be sufficient. Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya, regular hearing is important. So Prabhupada announced classes 3 days in a week. Monday, Wednesday and Friday, I suppose it was. So 3 days in a week, he is expected to receive some people. But then which person will go to that place? The floor is also uncovered. Even though a person is genuinely interested in spiritual life, it is very difficult to manage yourself in such a place. But nevertheless, Bhaktivedanta Swami announces 3 days Bhagavatam classes in a week. So initially he was fortunate to get some students because he was already speaking in the place of Dr. Mishra, and he got some people interested from there. Some old ladies were there who were coming regularly to Prabhupada. But then Prabhupada, the news spread in the downtown area, the commercial center of the city, and there people were very much dissatisfied with their life. As one famous celebrity said, attain whatever you want. I don't recollect the exact words, but it tells, attain whatever you wish, you will make you happy. Because after attaining all those things, you will realize that it doesn't make you happy. So America, having all the opulence, all the resources, people were completely dissatisfied and they were looking for something spiritual. So there were many communities building up, and that is why people took to drugs also, because they were mistaking hallucinatory experience of drugs as some kind of spiritual trance. But that was not. But they were wanting to have another level of consciousness, and they were looking very highly towards the east, because in west there is no other understanding than this gross enjoyment. So they were very much enamored by these swamis which were traveling. Many of them were traveling, but nobody could change them. They also had their buildings, but they were interested because this was something new, a different consciousness was being promised. So there was a place which was called the Paradox. So this was a restaurant, and it was there located below the street level. It was dimly lit, candlelit place, and if you go there, unlimited tea you can have entire day. And even if you don't purchase entire day, nobody would question you, and people would discuss all kinds of spiritual philosophy in that Paradox. And all kind of hippies were there, having long hairs, long beard. It was uncommon in America. To gentlemanly appearance of an American, it was strange. But then those people, youngsters who were disgusted, they would assemble in that place and try to explore spiritual life. So somehow the news got spread that this Swami is there who is living, and they also started visiting these strange people having long hairs, long beard, and they would have drugs. And these other sophisticated people, gentlemen who came from Dr. Mishra's place to Prabhupada, they were not very comfortable with them. And then eventually they convinced Prabhupada that this is not the place for you, the uptown residence, means the residential place of New York. You should come downtown. That is the area where you'll have many, many people who would like to come to you. So please come to that place, they were requesting. But Prabhupada was skeptical whether to go or not to go. He has anyway found a place which is established. But one day when Prabhupada returns, he sees that there is a theft in his place. And the janitor told Prabhupada that from the transom somebody broke the glass pane, he entered, and he has stolen Prabhupada's belongings and his typewriter. So although some of his students, they offer him replacement for his typewriter and his belongings, whatever little he had, but Prabhupada tells what is the use and what is the assurance. And Prabhupada, when he spoke to janitor, Prabhupada was very intelligent. He could make out this person only has stolen anything. But in lack of evidence, Prabhupada was silent. And Prabhupada, then he thought, even if they give me replacement, he will steal again. So then he thought maybe it is Krishna's arrangement. And he agreed to go to the place. He agreed to the proposal of moving to downtown. And that place was Bauri. Before Prabhupada was moving to that place, Bauri, people warned him, do not go to that place, it's not a good option at all. But Prabhupada did not bother, because anyway, there was no option to remain there and you allow people to steal your things over and over again. So Prabhupada left that place and he moved to downtown Bauri. And Bauri was a place which was full of bums, crazy people, weird people, who are, most of them, always intoxicated. And it was just a loft, not even a proper apartment to live. And how Prabhupada got this thing? One of Prabhupada's students, he was shifting from that place to California. And Prabhupada was offered his place to live. He was sharing that lot with David, another young man who was in his early 20s. And he told, I'm moving out, so you can share this lot with him. So Prabhupada agreed to go there. And Prabhupada moved there and found it is a difficult place. The place was stinking with the smell of alcohol and urine. They would live there and pass urine and they would be lying there. You have to step over 5-6 bumps if you have to reach your place. Prabhupada had to take 3-4 flights of steps to reach his loft. But then David was favorable, this young man. And Prabhupada finally had a place and a favorable roommate, and he thought, let us make it into a Radha Krishna temple and let us invite the New Yorkers over to this place. And Prabhupada was very confident. We need not bother about the place. If Krishna comes, everything would be corrected. Entire thing would be purified. So Prabhupada then started talking about the place in India from where he can get Radha Krishna deities and have a Radha Krishna temple in that place. And David was regularly hearing, and other people also started coming to visit Prabhupada. And a reporter also happened to meet Prabhupada. And the reporter tells, the meeting of the mystical West and practical East comes alive in the curious contrast between A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami and his American disciples. The Swami, a cultivated man of 70 with a distinguished education, is here for a year to preach his gospel of peace, goodwill, nearness to God, and more practically to raise money for his American church, temple they would call American church. Like teachings, the Swami is sensible and direct. So everybody appreciated this quality of Prabhupada. He was making sense. He was not trying to explain Vedas in a way that people will tell, oh, it is so lofty and it is so cryptic and so nice that so complicated that I cannot understand. Prabhupada kept it very sensible and very simple, very direct. His main teaching is that mankind may come closer to God by reciting his holy name. Even this new reporter was able to understand. You can come closer to God by reciting his name. This is his main teaching. Despite the fact that the Swami came to America to seek out the root of godless materialism, a disease, he said, that has already enveloped India, he is a realistic man. If there is any place on the earth with money to build a temple, it is here. The Swami wishes to found in America an international society for Krishna consciousness, which will be open for anyone, including women. Howard Smith recollects, so I went down there and went upstairs into this very funky artist loft. In the back of the loft, I noticed a little curtain, an Indian Madras type of curtain, and so I decided I'd peer into that area. I said, Swami Bhaktivedanta? And he said, yes. I said, I'm Howard Smith. Then we sat and talked, and I liked him a lot right away, reporter tells. I meant I'd met a lot of other Swamis, and I didn't like them too much. And I don't think it's fair to lump them all together and say those Swamis in India, because he was very, very basic. And that's what I seemed to like about him. He not only made me feel at ease, but he seemed very open and honest. Like he asked my advice on things. He was very new in the country. I thought his idea stood a good chance of taking hold because he seemed so practical. His head didn't seem in the clouds. He wasn't talking mysticism every third word. I guess that is where his soul was at, but that isn't where his normal conversational consciousness was at. Then he said several people had told him that the Voice, this newspaper, would be very good place to be written up, and that basically it would reach the kind of people who were already perhaps had a leaning interest in what he was preaching. And I said that I thought he was correct. He asked me if I had read any books or knew anything about Indian culture, and I said no, I didn't really. We talked a little, and he explained to me that he had these books in English, and he had already translated in India. And he handed those to me and said, if you want more background, you can read these. So then Bhaktivedanta Swami, he wrote a letter and to his god brothers in India that so many people here, they have established their buildings. So many spiritual organizations are already present. Even despite substantial following, they have got their place. But Gaudiya Math, a powerful institution at that time in India, thousands of followers, we are not there in New York. So our Guru Maharaj wanted us to cooperatively push this mission. So you please help me. I want to establish Gaudiya Math in New York. But then, even though his god brother did not outrightly criticize his New York preaching, but his response was not very favorable. And very politely he told that the funds Prabhupada wrote to Sumati Murarji, the lady who sponsored Prabhupada's travel to America. But then he realized if anything has to be done, any money has to come, it has to come from America. So Prabhupada became hopeless of receiving any support from Indian government, Indian businessmen, or any of his god brothers. So Prabhupada thought, let me start preaching now, whatever arrangement I have, and let me try to arrange the funds locally. How it would happen, he was not knowing, but he was simply dependent upon Krishna, and he started conducting his sessions over there. Very hopeful, because David was speaking very nicely, very less people were coming, but his roommate was speaking, and he wanted to advance immediately in spiritual life, and Prabhupada became very glad that he expressed his desire like that. So Prabhupada told, Krishna is there in your heart, he will notice the desire. So Krishna wants to test you are sincere or not, but he will give all guidance if you maintain this eagerness of immediate advancement in spiritual life. So Prabhupada developed a hope. But then one day, he sees another face of David. Even though there were some arguments in between, he was throwing his soap under the shower in the bathroom, and Prabhupada was telling, please do not do that. I may slip or you may slip, some damage can happen to us. But then he would shout at Prabhupada. So Prabhupada remained silent. But one day, David could not control. And although Prabhupada was always guiding him to leave the drugs, but they were so much addicted to drugs, it was difficult. He was having marijuana and all other kinds of drugs. And those drugs reached so much his head, one day he went crazy. So in a very crazy mood, he started pacing in the loft. And he was shouting, he was making various noises, moaning. And then he came in front of Bhaktivedanta Swami, started staring at him. And Prabhupada was shocked that anything this person can do, he can do harm to me or he can even kill me. So immediately Prabhupada left that place. Now Prabhupada has come down. So he has no other place. And in Bauri, you cannot expect all people are there, most of them are crazy. So what he will do now? He is out of his place. He cannot go back. It could be very, very dangerous for his life. And he doesn't know where to go, what to do now. But one thing is for sure, he cannot go back. Then finally, Srila Prabhupada, he thinks, this person, he is little sincere. And he comes regularly to my classes. His name is Kal, who was living with his girlfriend some distance away. So he phones up Kal and he expresses this is an emergency. And Kal, being a good student, he offers a place to Prabhupada. But although that place also was very small. and they were not very rich. He was living already with his girlfriend, and she was also not very comfortable with a Swami old man living in the same place. So finally, after a week, Kal and Prabhupada also realized I have to go to another place. But then he does not know, where do I go? So then Prabhupada thought of contacting another student, Mike. Mike was also regular. He was showing, recently he had started taking interest in Krishna consciousness, and he was resourceful. So Prabhupada called him up and expressed this dire situation, and he wanted to help. So immediately he started searching the classifieds, and he started finding a place for Swami. And eventually Prabhupada was found a place, a storefront. And from this storefront, actually Krishna consciousness picked up in America. So what happened in this storefront when Prabhupada went there, how he was able to connect with people, how from a simple shop, a storefront, a society developed with more than 100 centers gradually. So this wonderful planting of seeds in America, we will discuss in the session tomorrow. So thank you so much for hearing today. Now is the time for announcing the winner of yesterday's quiz. Yesterday's winner is Miss or Mrs. I'm not sure. Please excuse me. Rachna M. Purohit. So many congratulations to Miss Rachna M. Purohit. So we have replied to you in your comment. So please kindly contact us on the email address given over there, and we'll be very glad to send you your transcendental gift. So as I had discussed day before, whenever we hear anything, whenever we read anything, if actually we want to make the most out of it, always ask yourself this question: what have I learned in this session? This activity is very, very important. Whether you're doing your regular study, or especially when you are reading Bhagavad Gita books or hearing the subject matter, keeping in mind contemplation is very, very important. So please make a note, your realization after this session. What have you realized? Please go through the session. What new things you learned, or something which struck you? Oh, this thing is so nice, this can be done. It could be Prabhupada's struggle, Prabhupada's prayers which he did. It could be dependence of child in the womb of the mother. It could be the reporter's experience with Prabhupada. It could be Dr. Mishra's encounter with Prabhupada. It could be Prabhupada's mood, or anything else which you would have realized. So you can write your realization, and then along with the realization, it is important, how do I wish to apply in my life? So practical steps you can write. So I got inspired by Prabhupada. I will also try to have this attitude. This is not exact application. So I will try to chant more and more attentively. For that, I will wake up early in the morning. In early morning hours, I would chant at least these many rounds in the morning, so that I can develop this consciousness. This is called practical application. So please try to do this. That will give you immense and actually some tangible benefit out of the session. And that you can mention in the comments, not in the live chat. I repeat, not in the live chat, but in the comments. Once we close this session now, then comments would appear, and then you can write in the comment realization and application. And then you may not mention that, but you should also write on which date you are going to apply that thing. And then that is perfect way of learning anything. Otherwise we'll forget. And what if we discuss what did we discuss yesterday, then we may be able to recollect hardly any points, but this would be very substantial. And if you mention in the comments, then you can receive among the first 50 comments, we will choose a lucky winner who will be receiving transcendental gift from us. So please mention in the comments, and also that helps us to take this message to more and more people. It is not like physical pamphlet or book you can go on the street and distribute. The more you like it, you share it, it will reach to people. So I request all of you, please try to share this. Please try to comment your realization applications, or any other thing you wish to share with us, any feedbacks, that also you can mention. So please try to share, try to like, and try to comment, so that we can take this message to more people. Thank you so much for hearing. We'll meet tomorrow again. Hare Krishna.